Welcome, everybody, to a very special edition of Fantasy Football Weekly. I'm your host, Jorge Edwards, and I'm joined tonight by Erica and Colby, and we're going to be talking about the Fantasy Football Expo for 2024. Needless to say, there's a lot of people in the fantasy community that's excited about this, but there may be people out there who don't know what the hell we're talking about. Well, we're going to be here to change all that. So let's first of all get to the music. There's not a lot of things I do well, and I don't know if that's a great way to start a show or anything, any conversation really in general. But when it comes to entrance music, I feel like I do a pretty solid job with doing that for everybody's show. So that one really got me amped up, and it's a great way to get amped up because this is a great topic. Going on since 2019 when it was called the Midwest Fantasy Football Expo. It's been going strong. But before we get to all that, let's talk about what everybody's been up to. And this doesn't have to be fantasy related. It could be just life related, just things that you're having fun doing and all that. So let's start with Erica. Erica, what you got going on?
Not much. I celebrated a birthday last week, so went and saw family over the weekend. It's my slow season at work, so I'm getting a lot of fantasy stuff done while at work.
Very nice. Very nice. Colby, what about you, man?
Hanging in there. You know how it is. I'm just glad this is my first appearance here in the Fantasy and Frame show as a member of the team. So definitely excited after a guest for so long to kind of now walk through the door and be on the other side of the fence with you all. So looking forward to it and getting to see everyone here at the Expo this weekend.
Yes, screenshot of conversations on the other side are definitely frowned upon. And let's face it, we put out a lot of good screenshot-worthy material here at Fantasy and Frames, all for the good kind. Wink. But man, ladies and gentlemen, we are super excited. The goal of this episode is really to give you all out there a perspective of like what it's like for a person who's going to the expo for the first time, what to expect, and then for people like Colby and myself, we've been there several times, and what are we getting out of it? So many times later. We got going to the YouTube chat real quickly. We got Ann. What's going on, Ann? And, of course, we have the legend, Mr. Bob Harris, in the chat. What's going on, Bob? Looking forward to seeing you this weekend. Ann, are you going to the expo this weekend? Drop that in the chat and let us know. We'll hopefully get to see you, if so.
Bob is he's my ride buddy. We're on the same flight there, same flight back.
Oh, my God. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Bob is one of the classiest acts in the fantasy space, and he gives back so much to everybody out there. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Definitely would be cool to pick his brain for a good 2 hours or whatever, however long the flight is.
Yeah, figure out who he's drafting in the Kings Classic for me. That'd be good. I always like to have an insight into Bob's mindset in those Kings Classic drafts. So anything you can figure out and let me know, I'd appreciate it.
Got it.
Oh, and you're not going to be able to make it. Well, I would say we'll party for you, but I feel like that doesn't make you feel better. So there's no real, way around it. You will be missed. But hopefully next year we'll get to see it. Let's just get into it. Let's take it from a first timer's perspective first. So Erica, let's start with you. Let's talk about just what sold you on going. How'd you hear about it? All that.
So I kind of got into the fantasy space like a year ago, March of last year. So I was new to this world, new to the space, had no idea what it was until everyone was there in August. And then I got severe FOMO. So I'm going this year out of FOMO because I did not want to miss out again and see everyone that I've never, met before, but only know in the internet space. So I'm super excited to go as a first timer.
Now, Colby, as somebody who's been there, you've been there since 2019 as well, have not missed a one. What are you still excited about when you go to Canton every August?
The chalk answer is just to be around a bunch of degenerates, right? Fantasy football, people that have been looking at it since, for those who have been looking at it since the day the Super Bowl ended, or the big game, excuse me, since the day that ended, or the people who are kind of getting into it now. So I think it's just one of the things I think I look forward to most is the new relationships that are made, but also the strengthening and I hate to say the rekindling, but kind of just striking up those old conversations that we had. Like, Jorge, I met you at the expo the first year, and then look at us now, 6, 7, 5 years later, however long ago it was. So like a lot of good relationships come from it. And I still have memories from all of those. I technically attended the 2019 one, but my flight left like 10 minutes after it started. Don't know if I can technically say I went to 2019 then, but I was there. I did help set up a little bit. So maybe that's my claim there. But ultimately, it's just an all around good weekend and getting to meet new people, getting to see old friends. And then, the start of making new old friends. I think that's the
new old friends.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you both in both regards, because from somebody who's been there, every year, it is like a first time event because you're meeting a whole new crop of people who have never been there, as well as, like Colby, you were saying, meeting your friends. Like, for example, one of the things I like about the expo is like I can have a conversation with Colby like a year ago and then pick it up right where we left off a year later. Like, that's how you're building quality friendships in this space. So it's a lot of fun. One of the things I wanted to kind of touch on here, though, is, as we are here on screen, fantasy football content creators, at the same time, we're still fans. We're still fans of the NFL. We still play in our own leagues, our home leagues, our industry leagues. Like, what are we hoping to get out of it? Erica, again, I'll start back with you as a content creator, and then as a fan of the fantasy football. What are you hoping to get out of the expo and expo weekend?
I mean, honestly, just picking other people's brains about, their own content and how they do it. Like I said, I'm new to content creation. So even just seeing everybody at the expo and, talking with them about what they create can spark things for me as well.
Now, Colby, you've been doing this forever. I mean, you put out content all the time and for years. What do you still get out of going to expo weekend in terms of just, sharpening one's thought process or something?
Erica hit the nail on the head. That's ultimately what it is seeing other people's processes. Like, it doesn't matter if you just started this year or like I'm coming up on my 10th year of producing content, like in the fantasy space. I started back in 2014, and it's just so many different things. Like when I joined Fantasy and Frames here, you put out that video, the cool little montage thing that you had of the thing. I don't know how the hell you did that. Like, I don't know that stuff. Like, I'm like, there's still things to learn, and like just different people that you talk to, they have different kind of ideologies in the content they put out. I know the statistics that I like. It might be different than what Erica likes. It might be different than what you like. And then how you do videos, different editing, different everything like that. So it's just a way of picking people's brains on their process, kind of their mindset. It's no different than when you join a fantasy league and you're seeing how other people draft, like your longtime home leagues, how people draft. You start to learn that, you learn their tendencies. Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do here at the expo. Whether you make content or if you don't make content, you're just there to kind of consume everything that's there, learn how people think. Why do they do A over B? Why do they choose this or that? Like, we're all there to learn. Everybody can learn something. Nobody knows everything. And that's what the whole weekend's for.
One of the things to add to both of what you're all saying is, for me, when Bob Lung mentioned to me, that there would be a Fantasy Football Expo in August of 2019, he was rattling off the people that would be there, whether it's content creators like myself or who are just getting into it, or the established people from the Yahoos and the ESPNs and so on and so forth, Football Diehard. I kind of was a little, intimidated, a little shell shocked here. It's kind of like, oh my God, these are people that I've been reading their content or watching their content, for so many years. And now I get to be next to them and quote unquote, rubbing elbows, but not really. I'm not really rubbing the elbow because I had such low, I guess it was esteem in this space. Like, there's like having, your normal self-esteem for everyday life. And then there's like, you deal with the whole situation of like imposter syndrome, and all that goes around. And it's like, am I really a fantasy football analyst? Am I a creator? Like, what makes me this? What makes me that? How do I define myself in this space? And so while there was some apprehension, there's a lot of excitement. And I will say, for those who are going for the first time or thinking about going, if you see somebody in the space that you have looked up to or have heard their content or listened to their podcast or whatever, if you see them at the expo, the number one rule I say to everybody is go talk to them, because I guarantee you. Well, maybe not Bob Harris. He'll say that he's nice in the beginning, but then when you're drafting with him, he'll stab you in the back. But I just hear that from certain authorities. Just kidding, Bob. Just kidding. But is that kind of makes sense there, Colby?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
I mean, it's not like you're going to be in like a confined space and you just have to like walk a while to like kind of get over something that happened in like a confined space, maybe or maybe not on a plane. I'm not sure, depending on certain introductions like that, how they seem to go. But ultimately, we're all the same people there, right? That's ultimately what it is at the end of the day, regardless if you have 100,000 Twitter followers, if you have 4, if you put out 48 podcasts or 1 or none. It doesn't matter. Everyone's there the same. Have a good conversation. I mean, at the very least, you have other people who are like me, who like the Texans, who have been a devastated franchise for years. And that's kind of the identity that you kind of just took on in the space. And then, now things are turning. So, everyone has a niche. Everyone's going to get to know somebody, and we're all the same there. Just have a good conversation. And again, what's the worst that can happen?
I'll tell you what the worst that could happen is, and you were alluding to it right there. By the way, I love the Fantasy and Frames koozie. I will have some to give out this weekend for those who are attending. And Erica, I don't think you've heard this story before about my quote unquote introduction to Mike Clay of ESPN. Have you heard this one before?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Yeah, this is kind of nice. Bob, I was kidding. I was kidding about being somebody who stabs backs during drafts. You're not that person. I know. But yeah, so Colby and I, we were going in 2021 because obviously the pandemic, stopped things in 2020. And of course, everybody has cabin fever, especially for those in the fantasy football space. The minute that Bob Lung dropped that the Expo is back, it's going to be in August. It's going to be a gathering. Everybody in fantasy Twitter and whatever platform you're producing and consuming fantasy football content on, everybody's hearing about this. Everybody's excited. Everybody wants to show up because 1, we just want to get the hell out of the house. 2, what better way to get out of the house than to go to a fantasy football convention for all those fantasy football degenerates? It just made too much sense. So Colby and I were like, oh, we're going to be taking the same flight out of DC. I'll just say it was out of DC. And I'm sitting next to him and my friend Ken, and off in the corner of the terminal of the waiting area, I see somebody with their mask on, and I'm like, that looks a lot like Mike Clay. And so I look to Ken. I'm like, Ken, is that Mike Clay? He's like, I'm not sure. Now I know that in the Kings Classic drafts, which we'll get into in a little bit, Colby, you compete against him. So I figured let's ask Colby. Colby, is that Mike Clay? He's like, I think so. And I was like, I gotta go talk to him. I have to go talk to him. I have to introduce myself. I've engaged with him on Twitter about things, but never actually formally introduced. So again, one of those starstruck moments where you're just like, I don't know, do I, don't I? What do I do? When do I do this? This is, timing is everything. If we're about to board a plane, is this the right time? I don't know. He's sitting off in the corner. Nobody's talking to him. So maybe this is the right time. And so then, Colby and Ken are like, well, maybe he's sitting in the corner because he doesn't want to be around people and he just wants to have his own personal space and chill. And I'm like, damn it, I didn't even take that into consideration. So we're boarding to get on the plane, and it's this small, narrow plane. No, not multiple aisles, just one aisle. And we're walking single file, and people are putting their bags, above the overheads. And we get to a stopping point where people are doing that. And I look down to my right, and I'm like, holy crap, Mike Clay is sitting right next to me right now. And I'm like, this was the universe's way of saying, you know what? This is where you make your move. This is where the bold introduction comes out, where you make your move, and then you give them a little bit of a taste, hey, I'm Jorge. Let's talk after the flight. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Fantastic. Woo! And so what, in my mind it had come out of my mouth was, hey, Mike, big fan of your work over at ESPN. I'm Jorge Edwards. I'm also heading to Canton. I'm looking forward to picking your brain this weekend. And I was hoping that, in my mind also, the conversation went back, hey, Jorge, nice to meet you. Yeah, I look forward to speaking with you as well. What came out was, Hi, Mike Clay, because I can't call him by his first name only. It has to be first name, last name, which is something I do when I'm extremely nervous around people. Hey, first name, last name. It's like, hi, Mike Clay. My name is Jorge Edwards, and as I get to saying the line starts moving again, and I'm like, uh-oh, how do I cram in the rest of my conversation topic in like 2 seconds? He's like, sorry, this is probably not the best time to introduce myself. He's like, yeah, no, really, it wasn't. What were you actually thinking? I'm like, I don't know. Talk to you later. Bye. And then I sit down next to Ken, and Ken, of course, is like has a shit-eating grin on his face, and Colby's probably laughing too. And they're like, yeah, way to go, Jorge, way to go. And so then like we get to the airport, and we're getting to go to our rental car in Canton, and I see Mike Clay again sitting there waiting for, I guess, like an Uber or a taxi to show up. And I'm like looking at him, and we make direct eye contact. And then I'm just like, no, the time has already passed. I can't do this now. So I just walk away again. I'm thinking to myself, this dude must think I'm like the weirdest, like, person ever. Like, I'm the reason why you have personal security. Like, I'm that weird person, apparently, is what I was going through my mind. So anyhow, so we show up to the expo the next a couple hours later. That's a lie. Colby, if I will say this, you are very good at tracking down random breweries around the area. So along the way to Canton, we found this one place.
Shout out Magic City.
That's Magic City.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a very good brewery. If you're flying into Canton and you're heading into the downtown area, be responsible, first and foremost, but definitely some good brews there. We get to Canton, we get to the DoubleTree Hotel where a lot of us are staying, and that's not to say you can't have fun at other hotels, but the DoubleTree was kind of like the place to go because at the time, the expo was actually held at the DoubleTree as opposed to where it is now at the Hall of Fame Village. And we go through the festivities, that night, which were plentiful, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But then the next night is the next day is the King's Classic at the Hall of Fame. And so I know from another awkward conversation, Dave Richard from CBS pretty well, got to know him over the years. And he was sitting next to Mike Clay. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to go say hi to Dave, but how do I explain myself to Mike Clay, who's sitting right next to him? Everything that just happened within the past 48 hours. And so, so I go say, hey, what's up to Dave? And as always, he's gracious and kind as always. And then I look at Mike and I'm just like, hey, I'm that random dumbass who tried to introduce himself to you on the plane and made eye contact with you while you were waiting for your car ride, but still didn't go up and talk to you from yesterday. I'm that dumbass. He's like, all right, well, nice to put a name to the face now. And I'm thinking to myself, yep, that's an immediate block on Twitter.
No.
But no, he actually friended me. We've been pretty cool ever since. So it's kind of like where I'm going with this, folks, is have fun. Don't be shy. And if you're going to be shy, make it memorable and to have stories to talk about for years and years on end. Now, we talked about things, guys, from like what it's like in terms of expectations from being content creators. Now let's put on our our fan hats. Let's talk about the fact that we participated in a lot of home leagues. We started playing in home leagues, and then our passions kind of took us where they are. As a fantasy football fan, Erica, what are you hoping to take away just from this experience being at the Expo for Expo Weekend?
I mean, honestly, I'm just excited to meet people in person. Just, all these people that I've followed over the years. I mean, even meeting Bob Harris at the Dallas Live draft last year, that was a really cool moment. And then this year, we hung out again at the Dallas Live draft. So meeting all these people in person is going to be a little starstruck moment, but I'm excited for it.
And Colby, what about yourself, man?
Yeah, I think it's just cool to see a lot of like-minded people in the same area. When you get to the expo, one of my favorite things is just walking around and talking to all the different folks, right? Just seeing what they have to offer. I mean, obviously, if you're going to go in for the material items, there's a lot of cool giveaways. Cool. Like, that's going to be awesome. But just having a bunch of like-minded people in the same space, taking these little, what are they called? I can't call it Twitter anymore. These little X avatars that are like this big and taking a whole human that now comes from it, getting to meet people that you've interacted with online and stuff. It's just a really cool experience all around. And again, it's you're not going to find many situations where you have as many like-minded fantasy football fanatics as you, all in the same space for multiple days on end, all different types of events.
Oh, absolutely.
Also,
go ahead.
on that note, our community within a community is the women of fantasy football and our unwind group. Like, we're meeting for a dinner on Friday night. So already like a minority in this fantasy space, like getting to be around all these women who love the same thing that I do, like that's just amazing to me.
And shout out to Rachel for introducing that this year, and it has really taken off. I love my Unwind T-shirt. I think everybody should go to their website and get their own T-shirt. It's fantastic quality. Two, it represents something that's really important in this fantasy space. So that's a very good call there. Rich, welcome to the show. Co-host here of Dynasty 365. What are you looking forward to as a first timer heading to the Fantasy Football Expo?
I think Erica and Kobe hit it, honestly. That's kind of the big thing, is just getting to meet all these people that I've talked to for so long and everything. Like it's just going to be really exciting to get to finally meet everybody. Yeah, honestly, so like the Scott Fishbowl live draft, like if this is anything like that, except for on a much bigger scale, I think it's going to be so much fun. Like, I just can't wait. I really can't. As soon as tomorrow gets off of work tomorrow, or as soon as I get off of work tomorrow, going to my sister's and getting ready for the flight.
Nice.
Yep.
So you're flying in on Thursday? You'll be there on Thursday? Is that correct?
Yep.
Me too.
Nice. Fellow Thursdayers. Yep. I love it.
Yep.
Getting a trip to the weekend. So I asked these two, Rich, earlier, in terms of what they hope to get out of it from two perspectives. One is a fantasy football content creator like we all are on screen, and the other is just a fan. So as a content creator, who's been a content creator in the space for a bit, what are your expectations to get out of it, going to this expo this?
Well, I think, like, honestly, networking, of course, is a huge thing, but I'm really excited about getting to learn from all these people even more so, like, on a more personal level. I think that, like, it's I feel like if you have gotten to spend time with somebody online for a while, like, you get to know them and everything, but you don't really get to talk with them on that face-to-face basis. And I think that that's going to be so much different, and I'm going to get more out of it that way. As far as what was the second question?
As just a fan of fantasy football, and
getting to meet all my, like, the people that I've really idolized over the last few years. Like, I don't know. I'm going to start naming names. I'm going to start naming a lot of people, but but there are so many people, like just, I mean, like you too, Jorge, like getting to meet you face to face and actually getting to talk with you, Erica, Kobe, like, seriously, it's going to be so much fun. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm just repeating myself here, but
no,
I'm just so excited.
I guarantee you there's people who are first timers to the expo that feel the exact same way as you do, content creators that feel the exact way you do. I don't know how much you heard about the last during the last segment as far as embarrassing introductions, but yeah, don't be shy. Or if you're gonna make an embarrassing introduction, really nail it, really knock it out of the park, and own it for years on end.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, actually, my first introduction to Scott Fish, I called him Jeff.
That's awesome. Hey, Jeff.
Like I said, I was like, hey, what's going on, Jeff? And I realized what I said, and I went, that's not right. And, like, my mind just went blank after that. And I was like, well, see you later. Walked away.
Yeah, there's not really, I mean, you could have tried to say that, but at that point, you know what, you can come back to that one later. You would have had time to do that. All right, well, let's start telling people a little bit more about what they can expect from Fantasy Football Weekend. Like, obviously, as three of the four of us here have said, we were getting in there on Thursday. Why are we getting in there on Thursday? Because we know some people who are also getting out there on Thursday, and we like to party. So there you go. That's another reason why we want to show up and have a good time on Thursday. Because then Friday kicks off the expo weekend with, from, I believe it's from like 1 to 4 or 2 to 5, one of the two, at the DoubleTree, where you check in and get your, your swag bag, and your, that has all your kind of cool knickknacks like bottle openers, and I don't even remember. I remember one year they gave away cigars. That was kind of blowing my mind that they actually did that. That was pretty sweet. But anyhow, you check in, you do that to DoubleTree, then you walk a couple blocks to Centennial Plaza, and that's like the first evening of festivities. Colby, tell people about Centennial Plaza and just like what it's like there and all that.
Oh, it's about 3 blocks, I think. Come out of the DoubleTree, make a right, and it's about 3 blocks that way, and it'll sit there. There's a giant screen. They'll have usually they'll have one of the preseason games on up there, up on the big screen. And fortunately for all of us there, Friday night at 7:00 is when the Texans will be up on the screen. So hopefully they'll bless us with the Texans game up on the giant screen. You'll have Jersey Sports Bar off to the right. There'll probably be some bar carts around if the past couple of years are any indication. Usually they'll have some Terrapin Brewing and usually another local one there for the craft beer fans out there. So you'll have that. And honestly, that's kind of the welcome party to the whole weekend. Everyone's will be rolling at their own times. Everyone hangs out over there for hours on end, and it's really close to the DoubleTree. Oftentimes after that, people probably hang out at the DoubleTree a little bit more anyway. It's a really neat space if you've never been. When you get there, wide open space, nice area to walk around. There's cover. Like I said, you got that sports bar there. Friday night is a great opener to a great weekend. The Friday night party is one of my favorite events in the whole weekend, to be honest.
Nice.
Yeah, and I feel like the Friday night party is probably one of the most well attended out of a lot of the events on Expo weekend. Just everybody's getting there. They've been waiting for this all year, and it's like boom, you get out there, and there's so many names out there, like we were just alluding to earlier, that you can just go up to and meet. There's even, I believe, no, I wasn't there last year, but the year before there was like an ice luge in jerseys. I don't remember if they did that last year or not, but they have definitely a lot of cool things to do in that bar.
And also there is the cornhole that'll happen too. That tournament happens right in the middle. So basically you'll just be ridiculed by everybody else watching if you're playing, but I think they draw the teams at random, like right beforehand. So that's another good opportunity. If you did sign up, you just get to meet other people. Can't go in there with your buddy that you brought. It's just, kind of random draw. So you get to meet someone new from there. So cornhole tourney is a lot of fun to watch. And then just to honestly walk around, have a couple drinks and talk to people. It's such a good opening event. It's one of my favorite of the weekend. I can't underestimate it, despite it just being an open space where you just walk around, drink, and talk to people. But that's what the weekend's all about. So
exactly. We got Jeremy Noble in the chat here, who actually won the silver medal in the cornhole tournament last year, and went on to meet and make new friends there. So congratulations. Hopefully you'll be there to defend your second place title and maybe get first place this year. We'll see. But yeah, like it really goes to like, the closing time at jerseys and whatnot. And then it's like, all right, well, it's about midnight, back to the DoubleTree. And like the party just goes on, and it doesn't end. If you're going there to the DoubleTree, I would, and you plan on staying there for a long time, I would get there, find your spot, and post up there for the entire night, because history has shown us that at the DoubleTree, they are fully aware that crowds of like 500 people or more are going to be rolling through this place, yet they only staff 2 people behind the bar. So you can imagine how long it'll take to wait. Be extra generous to your bartenders, get on their good side, yada, 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 the rest. But then there's like this patio area out there where you can, like, I don't know what you can set things on fire in the patio area. Are there fire pits there too? I can't remember if there are fire pits or not, but let's just say there are. That's an awesome thing to do. And people just sit out there and have a good time. It's so much fun. And I was telling the person I'm going with, Ken, this, I'm like, you realize our room is going to be, it's basically going to be like dorm style, the first night or so, where people are just, hey, yeah, just come into my room, whatever you want to beer, here you go, have a good time. Now you may notice that some of us dip out a little bit earlier than others, because the next day is a pretty big day for a lot of people, in the fantasy space, for 2 different reasons. We got drafts going on. The first one is the draft night out drafts, where there's multiple divisions named after multiple Hall of Fame legends or NFL legends that people can participate in, which I believe happens at that sports bar, if memory serves me correctly. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But then there's the Kings Classic. And I really want to emphasize a lot of the things about the Kings Classic and the Queens Classic tournaments that are going on. Like, for me, you know what, Colby, why don't you do a little introduction to the Kings Classic and the Queens Classic and just tell everybody what really the gist of it is before I start going into another rant.
Yeah, I mean, the Kings Classic, there was the first two is the Jim Brown and the George Bland, I believe, division that were there, and that's 14 team leagues, very very deep teams, and then it's a quarterback, 2 running back, 3 receiver, 3 flex, 1 tight end, no kicker, no defense. So pretty deep leagues, a lot of quote unquote big names in the industry. And then as it's kind of evolved over the years, we now have the Queens Classic, which I believe last year was the first year of it, if I remember correctly. And now there's the IDP League, which is the Butt Kiss League. And then I think there's a college. I don't know if that's associated with the Kings Classic or not.
Yep,
but
that's also there.
Yep. So there's a college football draft as well. So it's basically devolved into these giant, we'll call them expert drafts. And they're open. So if you have the ticket, you just kind of walk through the Hall of Fame area. And then in these back rooms, like they usually have chairs posted up, you can go and watch. So just kind of see what people are drafting. Bop around the rooms, take a look at the Jim Brown division, go to the Blanda, go to the Queens Classic, go to the IDP, check it all out. It's a really cool league setup with a lot of cool people. And there's a lot of breaks that kind of happen. So you get to talk and mingle with different people. So highly recommend, even if it's just for a round or two, hop into all of those drafts just to see, because while all of them, I believe all of them follow the same kind of general league setup, like with the Kings Classic and the Queens Classic, you'll see in like for the Kings Classic leagues, Patrick Mahomes goes for $22 in one and $38 in the other one. Like these rooms are wild. Like it's just crazy to happen, but it's an awesome time to go check them out. And I'm biased because I am in it and saying that you should go check them out, but just take my biases out of it. It's definitely worth going in and watching a round or two of each draft. It's an awesome experience.
All right, I am going to put you on the spot here because you just, by dropping that little nugget here, he is a defending champion in the Kings Classic. Actually, you kind of have to show the belt too. Come on, Colby. I mean, you're going to mention it, show the belt. If it's within arm's reach. If it's not, don't worry about it. No, but it's a lot of fun, and it's an honor to be in these leagues. Like like Colby was saying, like the analysts that are there, what it represents in the fantasy football space. It is an honor. You are playing, against some of the high, the big names. Sure, that's one way to call it. You also can call it people who are, fellow content creators like yourselves who have put in the dues, who put in the time in this space, and have really, earned that opportunity. And that's not something that I think anybody in these leagues, whether it's the Kings or the Queens Classics, we take for granted. So it's a very special honor to be a part of that. And as to what Colby was saying, it is also a good idea to, like you said, while you're sitting in these drafts, even for 1 or 2 rounds, like learn how these people are drafted. Apply that to maybe how you do your drafts in the coming weeks leading up to the NFL season. You never know what you can gain from that. You did mention the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame, I'm not a big museum junkie person. Like, you're not going to catch me like reading every single thing at an art museum, every single detail. Like, I'll look at the painting. What do you think of this painting? It's pretty. Can we go to the next one? That's how I roll at museums. This place is pretty freaking awesome. And it is also very random. Like the very first picture, they have like a multimedia a section where it's like pictures of like fond moments in NFL history. And one of the first pictures they have up there is of Blake Bortles in the AFC Championship a few years ago. And I'm just like, holy shit, Blake Bortles is in the Hall of Fame. I never thought I'd ever say those words. There he is, right there. And then it just gets more random, and then you just walk around and you get to the Hall of Fame busts, and you're just like, you look at the history, first and foremost, of the NFL, and you really gain an appreciation for where things have come from, to where they're going, where they are and where they're going. It's a really great museum to go check out. Just indulge your inner nerd and go do it. Guarantee you will not regret it. But then we got the Saturday night party. Which is also, I believe, held at the stadium, right, Colby?
Yeah, I believe it's at the Tom Benson Stadium, and there will be usually they have a concession stand or two open. You'll get to kind of walk around and like the concourse area type there. And I believe like last year they had like beer pong going on, and honestly just more. Have a couple drinks if you imbibe and if you indulge in that, or just walk around and talk to people. That's pretty much what most of these parties are for. It's time for connection, talking with people, and if you want to throw it back to the good old college days, play a little beer pong, have a little fun.
Kind of. I do want to go touch back on the Queen's Classic for a second and talk to Erica. Erica, without giving too much away, how competitive are you going to be when it comes to draft time? Like, I understand there is the movement to finally get enough recognition in this fantasy space across men and women and whatnot. But like at a certain point, like it has to be like, all right, but I'm taking all of you two. Is that level of competition reached your head yet, or are you still
not? Yeah, not yet. I think maybe when I get there and I see who all I'm drafting with, like. I'm in the league. Like I know who I'm drafting with, but actually seeing everyone in person, I think I'm going to be like, oh shit, like I got to take all of you down.
I love it.
Does Queen's Classic do snake end auction?
Honestly, have no idea. I was just looking at the league and I was like,
okay,
I don't even know.
I feel like I should know. I was curious if I'm not asking anyway. Let's say they do an auction draft, and Rich, I'll ask you as well because this is one thing I'm really more so curious about when it comes to auction drafts and when it comes to the nominating players. And Jorge, you can answer to that way. We break a three-way tie. Are you I nominate someone that I want, or are you I'm going to nominate someone that I definitely do not want so that others spend money? This is a very decisive topic, apparently. So I'm just curious.
I always nominate people I don't want.
Fair. Rich?
I'm going to take middle of the road a little bit. I do a little bit of both. But primarily, it's guys that I don't want.
Yeah, you don't want to tip that hand, but every now and then you want to try to sneak one in. I hear you.
Yeah,
okay, Jorge, is it 3 for 3?
I'll go the other way. Just to play devil's advocate, I will lay on my sword for a player, especially as somebody who's ranked really highly in ADP, just so that, but I will drive up that price. So if I end up like spending way too much money on Christian McCaffrey, although the injury today, is a little concerning, but shouldn't be too much concerning as the season goes on. But if I have to spend up on Christian McCaffrey, oh darn, if I have to spend up on Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or insert, top 5, top 6, ADP fantasy football player, I'll live with it, right? Cool. But if I don't get those guys and the people I'm competing against just spent, close to $100 on, a Christian McCaffrey or a JJ or so on and so forth, I'm feeling pretty good. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling pretty good in like the most dastardly way possible. So I'm going to have my fun. I'm not going to be afraid to approach that, but I will say, towards the end of drafts, I think I tend to nominate people that I don't want just to get the clutter out of the way.
So I'm a newbie to auction. I did my first couple of auction drafts like this off season. And I realized how frugal I am in real life and in fantasy. Like I don't want to spend money at all. I'm like, give me bottom of the barrel players. I'll make it work.
That's awesome. And I will say that every auction is different. Every auction draft is different. Yeah, like I think Colby, you were saying earlier, like in one draft it's like 38 for Mahomes, the other one it's 28 for Mahomes. And it's like it is whatever it is in the league you're in. So you have to gauge. So Erica, you could say that you're frugal in auction drafts, but at the same time it's like maybe everybody else is, or maybe everybody's overspending, in which case that's good for you because at the end of the day they're going to run out of money faster and then you can have the pick up whoever you want. So I guess it depends. Rich, are you doing draft night out, man?
I am. I'm in Barry Sanders.
Nice.
Had to go with the GOAT. Yep.
Very nice. And last year was your first year. Obviously, last year was your first year going. Is that correct?
No, this is my first year.
I thought you said you were talking to Scott Fish. So this was at the
Scott Fish Bowl last year's Scott Fish Bowl live. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So then we get through the different tournaments and drafts, and you get to the Saturday night party, and then you stay up really, really late, longer than you should have, and then you realize, hey, I got to be up at 10 a.m. to go to the Fantasy Football Expo, the actual thing that I'm here for, and so. Every year, Fantasy and Frames has had a booth there, except for this year. This will be our first year not having one. But we are sponsoring the IDP panel at noon on the main stage. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And I will never forget one of the last panels or last times I was at our booth is that my friend Ken Sonnenberg and I, Tyler Heil, who's been there for years with us, we're all sitting around and like, where's Nate Markham? And folks, if you don't know the name Nate Markham heading into the Fantasy Football Expo, you will know the name of Nate Markham and his wife, as we call the director of personal engagement here, Carrie Markham. Two amazing people. You will walk away knowing their names, and your lives will be that much richer because of it. I was asking Nate, everybody, like, have you seen Nate? Have you seen Nate? And like the expo had started like at 10 and it's like now noon. I'm like, where is Nate? So I asked Ken, can you go up to Nate's room and just find out what's going on? And let's just say he was not awake yet because he had gone pretty hard the night before. So he rolls into like the booth like 2 hours late, and he's like just shaking his head, and we're just kind of like patting him on the back. It's okay. It's okay. You just go sit down over there and just wear the shirt. You're fine. You're good. Don't worry about it. But it's a lot of fun, and I think my biggest piece of advice here is for the actual expo, and I guess I'll ask Colby next, and then ask Rich, you and Erica, your thoughts on this is, everybody's there for a reason. Everybody's there, whether it's to promote a product or promote a brand or just to network. There's a number of reasons why people get booths. There's a number of reasons why people sponsor panels. My biggest advice, and I had somebody in one of my Dynasty leagues today bring this up, like what to get out of the actual expo itself is talk to every single person, every exhibitor, try to go to every single panel. While you're in the panel, ask questions. I don't care if they're dumb questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. No, they are. But you know what? Ask them anyway. It's okay. It's fine. I tell that to my wife all the time when she's talking about students that she has, and I'm like, so which one asks the dumb questions? Like, Jorge, there are no dumb questions. And I'm like, Melissa, let's be honest. That's neither here nor there. But just ask, absorb all the information you can get there, and network, and just enjoy the time. What's up, Tootsie Pop 6? We see you in the chat there. Colby, what am I missing here? Like, in terms of what to expect from the actual expo itself.
Yeah, one of the things I love is just going to every single booth and talking to them, because they're those working the booths and doing the vendors, and they're showing off a product just like you are there. They are passionate about something just like you're passionate about something there. I remember talking last year. I, for the life of me, cannot remember the name of it, and I feel bad. It was such a unique concept, and I'll be the first to admit it was way too smart for me, way above my head, but it was so cool. He talked about it incredibly passionately. It was really cool to see, and that's what ultimately I think you get out of it. Like, yes, go to each booth, enter the prizes, try to win the jerseys, try to win the subscriptions. Sure, that's the fun. We want the material items, but have those conversations. I subscribed to so many different podcasts last year. You get to talk to a bunch of different people. That's what you get out of it. Listen to you go to the panels, especially like this particular IDP one. Like, go check out that one, and you can learn a lot. Like, I'm not an IDP league player, but it's fun to hear the defensive side. I'll stand up, ask a question about a particular team in the AFC South, and everyone carries on. Like, we have a good time, and there's so many different booths you can attend to make yourself a better fantasy player, but also just enjoy hearing other passionate people talk about something that they enjoy. Because that's the reason that we're all there. If we didn't love fantasy football, you wouldn't fly to Canton, Ohio. Like, I don't know where Rich is flying from, but he probably wouldn't fly from there. I wouldn't be flying up from North Carolina. Other people wouldn't be driving hours, picking up people that they've never met along the way, just letting these random people in their car, which is a crazy thought. But like that's what the expo is for. And like it's like I just met you from interactions on Twitter. Let's lock ourselves in this car for 8 hours and do this drive together. But the expo, talk with everybody, walk around, talk to all the booths, because at the end of the day, we're all passionate people about the same thing that's there. And we all just have our little niches in there. So talk to every single vendor, talk to every single person there, network, and just honestly enjoy that time, because once August 11th or 10th, whatever that Monday is, once that comes, we don't have this for another year. All the interactions go back to X. They go back to Facebook. They go to our podcasts and our live streams. This interaction in person happens for this 3 or 4 day segment. Make the most of these 3 or 4 days. That's ultimately what I keep coming back to.
Yeah. To second that, like if you want to lock in people that you maybe want to have on your show, great time to do it, you know? Or maybe they want you to be on their show, you can cross collaborate, between brands, like, or between yourself and somebody else. It's a great opportunity. It's a great networking event. I'm excited to meet Erica and Rich for the first time in person. And I think I'm more excited for their first time attending the expo than I am coming back to the expo after so many years, because you two are going to love it. It's going to be fantastic. And those out there who are watching, thank you very much for tuning in tonight. You all are going to love it too, who are going to the Fantasy Football Expo. I guarantee you, there has never been anything I've seen negative of reported coming from the Fantasy Football Expo by anybody. Everybody just has a good time. They're documenting whatever. Everybody's taking pictures. Okay, that's one thing. 2 things to walk away from. If you are somebody who doesn't like having their picture taken, that might be something you might complain about, because people do a lot of selfies, guilty, and or ussies, as they say in Ted Lasso, do a lot of ussies with me and somebody else, and people are a lot taller than you give them credit for. You'll never believe who are like the tall people out there, but
Yes.
People are a lot taller in the fantasy space, which I'm noticing. Like there are days where I had to look up to some people. I'm just like, holy crap! I'm not exactly like short, but it's humbling for the vertically challenged, as I like to call them. But it is a lot of fun, notwithstanding. So, Erica, Rich, last thoughts here. You as a just what are your last thoughts, feelings, levels of excitement, heading into the expo as we're a couple days away? Rich, let's start with you this time.
Yeah. I guess I'm, like I said already, super excited, obviously, but I'm mostly excited about the fact that like you were saying, Kobe, getting into a car with strangers that you've never met before, like
that excites you. Okay.
No, I'm getting into a car with Nate Polvote and his wife, and
nice.
and we're gonna be going from Cleveland to Canton, and so like just that experience of finally getting to meet somebody that I've talked with for a very long time in this space, it's really exciting, and also just the chance to, like you were saying earlier, Jorge, about like promoting yourself or promoting things. That's what a lot of people are doing here. They're promoting things and networking. Like I kind of want to promote myself a little bit and get my name out there and really meet people, like I don't know. It's just something that I think is a big takeaway from this weekend is making sure that like you said, Colby, you talk to everybody. You do everything you can to meet everybody that you can.
Erica, what about yourself? Last minute thoughts, feelings, excitement levels, all that jazz.
I mean, this is like Disney World level of excitement for me.
That's
just
awesome.
excited, like, especially the women in this community. Like, I'm super excited for our unwind dinner on Friday night and just meeting all the women in the space that, Rachel connected all of us a year ago, basically. And we've been in a group chat together. We have unwind best balls and unwind leagues, and like just everything. So especially meeting the women in the space, but also just people that I've, listened to and followed their content over the years. Like, I'm just excited for everything.
We got Rachel in the chat. Unwind shout out. We've been shouting you out a lot. First of all, love the t-shirt. Fantastic. Super comfortable. Love everything you're doing in the fantasy space. I told you that, Rachel, privately. I'll tell you that publicly because it deserves to be heard. everything you're doing in this space to help out inclusivity. Just words can't describe how amazing the work that you have been doing has been. So thank you very much for everything you're doing in the community. It is long overdue. At the same time, I'm glad that it's here. You know what I mean? It's about time.
Absolutely.
Colby, last minute levels of excitement, all that, being a grizzled seasoned vet here of going to the expo.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's your first time, fifth time, third time, doesn't matter. It's an awesome weekend. I can't wait for it. I look forward to it all year long, and it's finally here. So I'm super excited. And for all those that I've already met and get to see again, I'm looking forward to seeing y'all again. And for everyone that I'm about to meet for the first time, including Erica and Rich here, I'm very excited to meet y'all and everybody else that'll be there. So I can't put it into words. I know I'm a little monotone at times, but I'm overly very excited and just can't wait for an awesome weekend.
Yeah, to round us out here, and I'll be a little shameful here in promoting us here at Fantasy and Frames. I remember the very first expo in 2019. I had a booth, and I had like half of the table full of koozies, half of the table versus draft kits that I was giving away that I had my buddy print out at his work for free, which was awesome because that would have cost a little bit more. It was just one of us, and then it turned into like two of us showing up, and then three of us. Now there's like going to be close to 15 Fantasy and Frames members showing up at the expo this year. Like that is, I never in a million freaking years would have ever thought that would ever. So I'm humbled, first of all, to the fellow Fantasy and Frames members that are here, Erica, Rich, and Colby. I'm thankful for all the ones who are attending, who are not attending. Just it means the world, and it means the world to us that you out there enjoy our content, from Dynasty to IDP to Redraft to draft shows to the Fantasy Football Weekly to our our pregame shows coming up this fall, and then other content we have coming along the way. We really do appreciate you supporting us, and I appreciate every single member of the Fantasy and Frames family. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all y'all and giving you all bear hugs, assuming that you all are okay with bear hugs, because if you are, I'm your guy. But anywho, that's going to wrap us up here for Fantasy Football Weekly, our special edition about the 2024 Fantasy Football Expo. Just a reminder, tomorrow is Fantasy Football Wednesday. We will have Dynasty 365 at 8 p.m. With Rich and Chris Burns. Follow that up with a little programming switch where we're going to have Shoot the Gap with Justin Taylor and myself going over IDPs from the NFC South. And then at 10 p.m., we have Fourth and Frames. That will be talking about the offensive side of the ball for the NFC South. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, the rest of us, we're heading to Canton the following day and then the day after. So looking forward to seeing you all there and meeting you all, and just have a great time. Really enjoy it. And let us know after, Expo weekend is over with what your thoughts were, and share some stories. And we'd love to get them on air and talk about them. And yeah, so for Colby, for Rich, for Erica, I'm Jorge. We'll see you soon.